Part 1. The scanner said, "No heartbeat detected." The human doctor said, "Then watch me find it." The medical room on the spaceship Celestial Harmony was quiet and clean. Everything looked white and bright under the lights. Dr. Kang Hyun stood next to a metal bed where an alien patient lay very still. The alien was from a race called Veltheron. His skin was almost see-through, and tiny lights moved under it like stars in the sky. The head doctor was a tall creature named Velnith. She looked like a giant insect with 4 arms. She was moving a floating scanner around the patient's body. The scanner made soft beeping sounds as it checked everything. Then it stopped and showed words in the air. "No heartbeat detected," Velnith said. Her voice sounded final, like closing a door. "The heart has stopped. He died 14 minutes ago. There is nothing we can do now." Hyun stepped closer to the bed. He did not listen to the final tone in her voice. He put 2 fingers on the patient's neck. He was trying to feel a pulse. He had studied where to find it in the Veltheran body. It took him 3 months to memorize all the different alien bodies on this station. "His name is Talon," Hyun said quietly. "He has 2 wives and 4 children. They are waiting for him at home." Had, Velnith corrected him. She was already writing notes on her electronic pad about the death. "Dr. Kang, I know humans do not like death. But the scanner is exact. It does not make mistakes. The Veltheran heart has stopped working. By every rule we know, this person is dead." Hyun looked down at Talon's face. The small lights under his skin were getting dimmer. They were fading away like candles being blown out one by one, but there, just barely visible, Hyun could see one tiny light still flickering. It was fighting against the darkness. "Then watch me find it," Hyun said. He pushed his sleeves up to his elbows. He placed both hands on Talon's chest. The alien's rib cage felt strange under his palms. It was different from a human chest. The Veltheran heart did not pump like a human heart. It was made of crystal-like chambers. These chambers vibrated at special frequencies to move blood through the body. Velnith's antennas moved in a way that showed she was annoyed. "Dr. Kang, what are you doing?" "Something the scanner would not think of," he replied. Hyun began to hum. It was a low sound that came from deep in his throat. He changed the sound little by little. He watched the faint patterns of light beneath Talon's skin. Other medical workers had gathered around now. They watched with curious faces. Some looked disapproving. "This is not proper procedure," Velnith protested. "You cannot just—" The lights in Talon's body suddenly got brighter. Just a little bit, but it was enough. Hyun changed his humming to match the frequency he had detected. Then he pressed down on Talon's chest in a rhythm. It was not like human CPR. It was something different, something born from gut feeling and the stubborn human refusal to accept what machines say is the final truth. Talon's eyes opened. The medical room fell silent. Everyone stopped talking. The only sounds were Hyun's continued humming and the sudden fast beeping of monitors. The machines were detecting life again. Velnith's electronic pad fell from her hands and hit the floor with a clatter. "Impossible," she whispered. Hyun kept his hands in place. He kept making the right frequency until Talon's own heart remembered how to work. It took over the rhythm by itself. Only then did Hyun step back. He was breathing hard. His arms were tired from the effort. Talon reached up with a shaking hand. He touched his own chest in wonder. I was gone. I felt myself falling into the quiet darkness. I thought it was the end." "Welcome back," Hyun said. He was smiling even though he was tired. Velnith picked up her pad with shaking hands. All 4 of her arms were moving in agitated patterns. The scanner said there was no heartbeat. "Our instruments are set to union standards. They are built to be perfect. They do not make mistakes." "The scanner was right," Hyun said. He was rolling down his sleeves now. There was not a heartbeat, not one it could detect anyway. But no signal does not mean no life. He looked directly at the chief medical officer. "Your machines measure what they are programmed to measure. But biology does not care about our programming. Life finds ways to survive that we have not imagined yet. Sometimes you have to stop looking at the scanner. You have to start looking at the patient." The story of what happened spread through the Celestial Harmony within hours. Medical staff told patients. Patients told visitors. Visitors told their friends on other ships. Everyone was talking about the human doctor who brought someone back from death. The doctor who trusted his hands and his feelings over technology that never failed before. That night, Hyun sat in his small room on the station. He was writing his report about what happened. He knew the Union Medical Board would read it. They would probably be angry with him for not following the rules. But as he got ready for sleep, he thought about Talon's wives and children. They would not receive the terrible news that their father and husband was dead. They would see him again. They would hold him again. That was worth any trouble he might get into. Hyun lay in his bed and looked at the ceiling. Through the window he could see stars, thousands of them, billions of them. Each one was a sun with planets around it. Some of those planets had people living on them, people from hundreds of different species. They all had hearts that beat in different ways. They all had lives worth saving. The Union had the best technology in the galaxy. They had scanners that could see inside any body. They had computers that knew the biology of thousands of species. They had medicines that could cure almost anything. But sometimes, Hyun thought, the best technology was not enough. Sometimes you needed something else, something that could not be programmed or measured. You needed someone who refused to give up, someone who listened to what the patient's body was saying, not what the machine was saying, someone who believed that where there was even the smallest spark of life, there was hope. Hyun closed his eyes and finally let himself sleep. Tomorrow there would be more patients, more challenges, more chances to save lives. But tonight he had done enough. Tonight Talon was alive, and that was everything. Part 3. The Karathi child lay on the medical bed like a broken toy. His name was Minho. According to the file from his family's ship, he had been in space without air for almost 3 minutes. The ship's hull had broken open. For most species, 3 minutes in vacuum meant death. For a young Karathi child whose organs were still growing, it should have been impossible to survive. Hyun studied the scanner readings. His trained eyes moved past the obvious failures. He was looking for subtle signs of life that might still be there. The Karathi were water creatures. They had a special breathing system. They could take oxygen from both water and air through special membranes in their bodies. Those membranes were badly damaged now. So were most of Minho's other major organs. There is nothing to work with, Dr. Velnath said. For the first time since Hyun had known her, he heard real sadness in her voice. I talked to 3 specialists who know Karathi bodies. They all agree. Even if we could fix 1 or 2 systems, the cascade failure is too bad. The child's brain has been without enough oxygen for too long. Hyun moved his hands over Minho's small body. He did not touch the child. He just felt the air above the skin. It was a technique from an old mentor back on Earth. Someone who had learned traditional medicine before modern technology. Sometimes, his mentor had said, you can feel what the machines cannot measure. How long do I have before brain death cannot be reversed? Hyun asked. Velnath looked at her pad. For a young Karathi? 20 minutes. Maybe 30 at most. Dr. Kang, I know you have done amazing things, but this is beyond even your abilities. We need to let the parents say goodbye. Not yet. Hyun's mind worked fast through everything he knew about Karathi bodies, their dual breathing system, their unique blood flow pattern, the way their organs work together like a network instead of separate systems. That was it. That was the key. Their organs do not work independently, Hyun said out loud. They are networked, like a computer system that shares processing between many machines. Yes, Velnath confirmed. That is why the cascade failure is so bad. When one system fails, it affects all the others. But it also means, Hyun continued, his excitement growing, that if we can restore one critical system, it might restart the others. We do not need to fix everything at once. We need to find the master switch. He turned to the medical staff. I need a complete map of Minho's brain pathways. Get me a molecular maker tuned for Karathi tissue healing. Also, someone talk to the parents. I need to know if Minho has any genetic differences. Anything that makes him special or different from a normal Karathi child. The medical bay became busy with controlled activity. Staff moved to do what Hyun asked. Velnath came close to him. She spoke quietly. What are you planning? Something probably impossible, Hyun admitted. The Karathi nervous system is the key. It controls all the other systems. If Minho's brain is still working even just a little and we can restore his main neural cluster, his body might remember how to fix itself. That is a huge if, Velnath said. And even if you are right, how do you plan to restore damaged brain tissue? Karathi nerve cells do not grow back. Not naturally, Hyun agreed. But human nerve cells did not either until we figured out how to wake them up with special protein sequences and electrical patterns. Maybe Karathi nerves can be encouraged the same way, Minho's father, a large Karathi named Deho, pushed through the security staff. He came to the table. His skin showed stress patterns. His gills moved very fast. "Please," he said in broken standard language. "Save my son. I will give anything. Do anything." Hyun looked into Deho's eyes. He saw his own desperation reflected there. "I need you to tell me everything about Minho. Does he have any unusual abilities? Anything that makes him different from other Karathi children?" Deho's gills slowed a little as he thought. He can hold his breath longer than other children his age. Much longer. When we swim in the deep waters of our homeworld, he can stay under for nearly an hour. The doctor said it was a genetic difference. They said it was not important. It is important now, Hyun said. It means Minho's breathing system has better efficiency. His cells can work with less oxygen than normal. That might be why he is still alive when he should not be. A young medical officer came with the brain map. Hyun studied it carefully. There, deep in Minho's brainstem, was a cluster of neurons that showed faint activity. It was barely detectable, but it was there. The child was still fighting. "Prepare a neural stimulation field," Hyun ordered, "and I need someone to manually add oxygen to his tissues while I work. We are going to bypass his damaged breathing membranes. We will deliver oxygen directly to his cells." "That will require constant watching," Velnith said. "One wrong calculation and we could cause more damage." "Then we do not make wrong calculations," Hyun replied. "I know this is risky. I know it goes against every rule you have been taught. But I also know that child is still in there. He deserves every chance we can give him." Velnith was silent for a long moment. Then she began giving orders to her staff. "You heard Dr. Kang, give him the tools he needs. And someone get me a direct link to Union Medical Command. If we are going to try something this experimental, I want it on record." For the next 4 hours, the medical bay became a place of unprecedented medical work. Hyun worked with a level of focus that impressed even the veteran medical staff. He stimulated Minho's brain clusters with exact electrical pulses. He was coaxing damaged nerve cells to fire again. He used the molecular maker to create custom protein sequences. These were designed to protect the healing brain tissue. And slowly, impossibly, Minho's body began to respond. First, the brain activity increased. Then, one by one, his other organs started showing signs of recovery. The networked nature of Karathi bodies that had caused the cascade failure now worked in reverse. Each restored system helped to restart the others. Hyun's hands shook with tiredness as he made the final adjustments. The scanner, which had shown nothing but death hours earlier, now displayed readings that made the entire medical staff stop and stare. "Stable," Velnith whispered. "All major systems showing normal function. Brain activity is normal. How is this possible?" Hyun leaned against the table. He was exhausted but happy. "Because we did not listen to what the scanner said was impossible. We listened to what Minho's body was trying to tell us." Minho's eyes opened slowly. He looked around with confusion. Then he began to cry. It was the most beautiful sound Hyun had ever heard. Because it meant the child was alive, awake, and getting better. Deho rushed forward. He carefully picked up his son in his arms. His gills moved wide with emotion. "Thank you," he said to Hyun. His voice was breaking. "Thank you for not giving up on him." As the medical staff moved Minho to a recovery unit, and his grateful parents stayed close by, Hyun finally let himself feel the weight of what had just happened. He had saved a life that every measure of Union medicine had said was beyond saving. Dr. Velnith came to him. Her antennas moved in a pattern Hyun had learned meant deep respect. "What you did today will be studied for decades," she said. "You have challenged everything we thought we knew about the limits of medicine. I just refused to accept that a child should die when there was still something we could try," Hyun replied. "Perhaps that," Velnith said thoughtfully, "is the most human thing of all." Part 4. The news about Minho's recovery spread through the medical community like wildfire. Within days, the celestial harmony was flooded with messages. Patients who were declared hopeless. Families desperate for one more chance. Medical facilities asking for help with their most difficult cases. Hyun's communicator beeped constantly. Urgent messages. Pleas for help. Demands for his time. He sat in Commander Ryloth's office once again, but this time the mood was tense. The commander's skin shifted through patterns of worry and frustration. "Dr. Kang, I have received 47 formal requests for your services in just 3 days," Ryloth said. Union Medical Command wants to create a special system for sending critical cases to you. 3 different medical research facilities are offering large amounts of money for you to work only for them, and there is a group of Karathi dignitaries arriving tomorrow. They want to give you their highest civilian honor. Hyun rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept properly in days. Sir, I appreciate the recognition, but I am just one doctor. I cannot save everyone. That is exactly the problem, Ryloth replied. You have given hope to thousands of beings across the Union, and now they all want their miracle. He paused. His expression became softer. How are you managing, Dr. Kang? Personally? The question surprised Hyun. I am managing, sir. You are exhausted, Ryloth said directly. You have worked 18-hour shifts for the past week. You have taken cases that other doctors have given up on. And from what Dr. Velnith tells me, you are starting to make mistakes. Hyun straightened defensively. What mistakes? All my recent patients are stable. Yes, but you are slipping, Ryloth said, not unkindly. Velnith showed me your reports. You are taking longer to diagnose conditions. You are doubting yourself. You snapped at a young medical officer yesterday. That is not like you. These are signs of burnout, Dr. Kang. Before Hyun could respond, an urgent alert flashed on Ryloth's desk display. The commander's expression became dark as he read the message. There has been a transport accident, Ryloth said. Multiple casualties. They are sending the most critical patients here because we have you. He looked at Hyun directly. I am not ordering you to take these cases, but they are coming whether you are ready or not. The medical bay fell into controlled chaos over the next few hours. 15 patients from the transport accident. Some had minor injuries. Others had critical trauma. Hyun moved between them. He assessed conditions. He prioritized treatments. He directed the medical staff. But he could feel something was wrong. His hands were not as steady as they should be. His mind was not making connections as quickly as it usually did. One patient was a Solarian engineer named Yunji. She had internal injuries. The scanner could not fully map them because of her species' unique crystal-like organ structure. Normally, Hyun would have been able to work around the scanner's limitations. He would use his experience and intuition to guide the treatment. But today his tired mind could not find the pattern. Dr. Kang, Velnith said quietly. She appeared at his side. Let me take this one. You need to rest. I can handle it, Hyun insisted. But even as he said it, he knew it was becoming less true. Velnith did not argue. Instead, she simply began working alongside him. Her experienced hands moved with practiced skill. Together, they stabilized Yunji. But Hyun knew it had taken longer than it should have. He had been the weak link, not the help. After the last patient was stable and moved to recovery, Hyun found himself alone in the staff lounge. The station's artificial night had begun. Dim lighting filled the facility. He sat with his head in his hands. He felt the weight of expectations crushing down on him. Dr. Velnith entered quietly and sat across from him. For a long moment, neither spoke. I thought I could do more, Hyun finally said. I thought if I just worked harder, pushed myself more, I could help everyone who needed it. You are one doctor, Velnith replied. A brilliant one, yes, but still just one being with limits. You humans have this tendency to believe you can overcome anything through sheer determination. Sometimes, Dr. Kang, that is not strength, it is pride. Hyun looked up, surprised by the harshness of her words. Velnith's mandibles clicked softly. I do not say this to be cruel. I say it because I have watched you save lives that I would have given up on. You have taught me to question my instruments, to trust my observations. You have made me a better doctor. But I have also watched you carry the weight of every impossible case, every desperate family, every patient beyond saving. That weight will break you if you do not learn to share it. How? Hyun asked. How do I share it when I am the only one who can do what I do? Are you, though? Velnith tilted her head. You have shown us that there are other ways to approach medicine, ways that our technology-dependent methods miss. But that does not mean you are the only one who can learn those ways. You could teach others, build a team, create rules that combine your intuitive methods with our technological precision. A message alert interrupted them. Hyun looked at his communicator and felt his heart sink. Another urgent case, this one from a colony ship 3 star systems away. A child, unresponsive, beyond the abilities of the ship's medical staff. They want me to take a shuttle and meet the colony ship, Hyun said quietly. It is a 14-hour journey. What do you want to do? Velnith asked. Hyun thought about all the patients waiting, all the messages asking for his help, all the impossible cases that only he seemed able to solve. Then he thought about Yoonji. How close he had come to making a critical mistake because of exhaustion. I want to save that child, Hyun said, but I also need to be honest about my limits. If I go now, when I am this tired, I might do more harm than good. He sent a response to the colony ship's medical officer. He provided detailed guidance on how to keep the patient stable. He promised to consult through space communication once he had proper rest. It felt like failure, like abandoning someone who needed him. But he also knew Velnith was right. Tomorrow, Velnith said, standing to leave, we are going to start training sessions. You are going to teach a group of medical staff your methods, how to look beyond the scanners, how to trust their observations, how to find the patterns that technology misses. It will not be easy. It will not happen quickly. But it is the only way your knowledge does not die with you. After she left, Hyun sat alone with his thoughts. Somewhere in the vast space, people were dying who he might have saved. The weight of that knowledge would never fully leave him, but perhaps Velnith was right. Perhaps the most human thing he could do was not to save everyone himself. It was to teach others how to try. His communicator beeped again. This time, it was a message from the Korathi delegation. They were confirming their arrival tomorrow to honor him for saving Minho. Hyun smiled despite his exhaustion. That was one life saved, one family whole again. It would have to be enough. Part 5. 6 months passed since Minho's recovery. The medical bay of the Celestial Harmony had changed in ways both small and large. A new wing had been added. It was called the Integrated Medical Response Unit. Here, traditional Union technology worked alongside what people now called intuitive diagnostics. These were the methods Hyun had pioneered. Hyun stood before a class of 20 medical professionals. They came from various species. Each was selected for being open to new approaches and showing excellent clinical skills. Today's lesson focused on what he called listening to the patient's story beyond the data. The scanner shows us facts, Hyun explained. He pointed to a holographic display showing a patient's readings. The patient was a Threlian, a species with special light patterns in their skin. But facts without context are just numbers. This patient's blood pressure is high. Her brain activity is irregular. Her hormone levels show stress. The scanner says to give standard anxiety medicine. But watch, he approached the Threlian patient. She was a volunteer for the training session. Her name was Jiwoo. She was a merchant. Can you tell me about your day? He asked gently. Jiwoo began describing her morning routine. Hyun listened, not just to her words. He listened to the rhythm of her speech. He watched how she moved. He observed the subtle changes in her light patterns. There, Hyun said, pausing the conversation. Did everyone notice? When she mentioned preparing her morning meal, her stress patterns got worse. Jiwoo, have you changed your diet recently? Jiwoo looked surprised. Yes, actually. I have been trying foods from different systems. I want to learn about other cultures through their food. Further investigation revealed something important. Jiwoo had been eating a common Dravik seasoning. It was safe for most species, but it created a mild toxic reaction in Threlian nervous systems. It was a compound the standard scanners would not flag. It fell below the danger threshold for the general population. The scanner was not wrong, Hyun told his students, but it was incomplete. It told us the symptoms, but not the story. Your job as doctors is to find the story. Dr. Velnith, now co-director of the Integrated Medical Response Unit, watched from the back of the room. After the session ended, she came to Hyun with a data pad. Union Medical Command has asked us to expand the program, she said. They want to set up similar units on 12 other stations across the Union. They are also asking if you would be willing to travel. To train other medical staff in your methods. Hyun thought about the request carefully. In the 6 months since he began teaching, he had watched his students grow. They gained confidence and capability. They saved lives using the techniques he taught them. They found solutions to problems that standard rules could not address. The work was spreading beyond just him. I will do it, Hyun said, but on one condition. We do not call it Dr. Kang's method or anything that makes it about me personally. This approach to medicine existed on Earth for thousands of years before I was born. It is not mine to claim. It is something we learned as a species. Now we are sharing it with the Union. Agreed, Velnith said. Her mandibles formed. What Hyun had learned was a smile. You have become quite the teacher, Dr. Kang, though I notice you are still taking emergency cases yourself. It was true. Just last week, Hyun had spent 72 hours straight working on a patient. She had a condition so rare that only 6 cases had been recorded in Union history. He saved her. But the effort left him exhausted for days afterward. I am working on balance, Hyun admitted. It is harder than I thought. An alert sounded. Both doctors checked their communicators at the same time. Another urgent case. But this time the message was not asking for Hyun specifically. It was from one of his students. A young Centaurian doctor named Junho. He was asking for consultation on a difficult diagnosis. Hyun pulled up the case file and studied it carefully. Then he sent back his observations and suggestions, but he did not tell Junho what to do. He provided guidance and let the younger doctor make the decision. You are letting go, Velnith observed. That is good. That is how teachers become mentors. Later that evening, Hyun was preparing for his next day's travel to another station. He received a message that made him pause. It was from Talon, the Veltheran merchant who had been his first impossible case on the Celestial Harmony. The message included an image of Talon's entire family. All were smiling. The text was simple. Thank you for giving me this. Hyun looked at the image for a long time. In the 6 months since he started teaching, he had lost count of the medical professionals he had trained, the procedures he had helped with, the lives that had been saved using the methods he shared. But this one image reminded him why it all mattered. His communicator beeped again. Yunya was reporting back on the difficult case. He had found the diagnosis. He treated the patient successfully. He wanted Hyun to know that he used the intuitive approach to catch something the scanners had missed. Another life saved, Hyun said to himself, and not by me this time. The door to his quarters opened. Commander Ryloth entered. His skin patterns were formal but friendly. Dr. Kang, before you leave tomorrow, there is something I wanted to discuss. Union Medical Command is proposing a new position, Chief Medical Innovation Officer. The person would be responsible for integrating non-traditional medical approaches across the entire Union. They want to offer it to you. Hyun sat down slowly. He was processing the information. That is quite an honor, sir. It is also quite a responsibility, Ryloth said. You would be traveling constantly, teaching, consulting, probably attending more committee meetings than you would like. But you would also be in a position to change how medicine is practiced across hundreds of worlds, Can I think about it? Hyun asked. Of course. They need an answer in 2 weeks. Ryloth turned to leave. Then he paused. For what it is worth, I think you should take it. You have proven that the Union's medical establishment needs someone willing to question our assumptions, someone who remembers that behind every readout and scan is a living being with a story worth hearing. After Ryloth left, Hyun sat alone in his quarters. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, patients were being treated by doctors who had learned to look beyond their scanners. Medical professionals who had learned that intuition and technology were not opposites. They were partners. Beings who might have died but would live because someone had refused to accept what the machine said was the final truth. His communicator beeped one more time. It was a message from Daeho, Minho's father. The message was short. Minho started school today. He wants to be a doctor when he grows up. Like the human who saved his life. Hyun smiled through sudden tears. Perhaps that was the real legacy. Not the lives he saved personally, but the idea he had planted across the Union. The understanding that medicine was as much art as science, as much about connection as correction, as much about refusing to give up as about knowing when to let go. He wrote a response to Union Medical Command. He accepted their offer. There was still so much work to do, so many medical professionals to train. So many lives that could be saved if they just learned to look beyond what their instruments told them was possible. The scanner might say no heartbeat detected, but somewhere someone would remember to look for it anyway. And that, Hyun thought, was the most human thing of all. Part 2. 3 weeks passed since Hyun saved Talon. Now he was standing in Commander Ryloth's office. The commander was from a race called Centaurian. He had 4 eyes and skin that changed colors based on his mood. His office had a big window that showed the docking area where spaceships came and went all day long. Dr. Kang Hyun, Commander Ryloth said. He was looking at something on his desk screen. All 4 of his eyes blinked one after another. Your recent medical work has caused many discussions in Union Medical Command. Hyun stood straight and ready. He was waiting for punishment. Yes, sir. I wrote a complete report about patient Talon. If there will be punishment. Punishment? Ryloth interrupted. He made a sound like wind chimes. Hyun knew this meant the Centaurian was laughing. Dr. Kang, you have been nominated for the Healer's Zenith. It is one of the Union's highest medical awards. The medical board is split. Half think you are a genius. Half think you are dangerously unpredictable. I am just a doctor, sir, Hyun said carefully. A doctor who performs miracles, some people say. Ryloth stood up and walked to the window. His robes changed colors to match his mood. Tell me, Dr. Kang, how did you know what to do? Our medical database has knowledge from 47,000 species. Velnith and her staff followed every rule. The scanner said the patient was dead. What did you see that they did not? Hyun thought about the question for a moment. I saw a person who was not ready to die, sir. I remembered something from my training on Earth. We have an old saying in medical school. It says, listen to your patient. They are trying to tell you what is wrong. The scanner was telling me one story, but Talon's body was telling me a different story. I chose to listen to the one that was still fighting. Ryloth turned from the window. All 4 eyes looked at Hyun with strong focus. There are other cases. Difficult cases. Patients that our normal methods have failed. Union Medical Command wants to know if what you did with Talon was luck, or if it can be done again. It was not luck, Hyun said quietly, but I do not know if it can be taught. Human medicine grew differently than Union medicine. We spent thousands of years working with limited technology, so we learned to rely on watching, on gut feeling, and sometimes just refusing to give up. We got good at seeing patterns that machines miss. I am changing your job, Ryloth announced. You will still work in the medical bay, but you will also be our specialist for difficult cases, the ones where the scanners have no answers. Over the next months, Hyun's reputation grew bigger. It spread beyond the celestial harmony to other stations and ships. He saved a Dravix engineer whose brain implant was supposed to be impossible to fix. Hyun realized the organic tissue was trying to reject the synthetic parts. He found a way to make them work together. He saved a young Quillen girl whose lungs were failing. Every specialist was confused, but Hyun noticed she had been given a common medicine. The medicine was safe for 99% of species, but it created a deadly reaction with her species' unique breathing system. Each case added to the legend. The human doctor who saw what the machines could not. The doctor who treated patients instead of computer readouts, but it also brought criticism. Dr. Velnith was always respectful, but she often expressed concerns in staff meetings. Pattern recognition and gut feeling are valuable, she argued after one controversial case. But they are not reliable. They cannot be measured or checked. What happens when Dr. Kang's gut feeling is wrong? It was a fair question. It kept Hyun awake some nights. Because the truth was his intuition was wrong sometimes. Not every patient could be saved. Not every puzzle had an answer. But he had learned something important. The willingness to try unusual approaches, to question what the machine said was true, had saved lives that would otherwise be lost. His room became filled with medical books and research from dozens of species. Hyun spent his free time studying. He learned not just the biology of the Union's many races. He studied their healing traditions, their old remedies, their ancient practices that existed before scanners and machines. There was wisdom in those old ways. Knowledge that had been set aside for technological precision. One evening, Hyun was reading a case file in his room. His communicator made an urgent sound. It was a message from the medical bay. Velnith was asking him to come immediately. A ship had just docked with a patient in critical condition. When he arrived, he found the medical staff gathered around a bed. A small figure lay unconscious on it. It was a Karathi child. They looked about 5 human years old. The scanner display showed many system failures. It made Hyun's blood feel cold in his veins. What happened? He asked. Exposure to vacuum, Velnith explained. Her voice was tight with stress. The child's family ship had a hull breach. It broke open into space. By the time they reached us, the damage was very bad. The scanner shows multi-organ failure. Brain activity is very low. By all union medical rules, the child cannot be saved. Hyun looked at the small form on the bed. He looked at the grieving parents. Security was holding them back at the doorway. Their cries of pain and fear filled the medical bay. It was a sound that cut through everything else. Then watch me try anyway, Hyun said. He moved to the child's side and rolled up his sleeves. The parents stopped crying for a moment. They looked at Hyun with desperate hope in their eyes. Hope that was fragile and breaking, but still there, still alive. Velnith stood beside him. She did not argue this time. She had seen Hyun do impossible things before. Maybe, just maybe, he could do it again. The medical staff got ready. They brought equipment. They prepared medicines. They did not know exactly what Hyun would need, but they trusted him to know. That trust was something new, something that had grown over the past 3 weeks. Hyun placed his hands near the child's body. He did not touch yet. He was just feeling the air above the skin. It was an old technique from Earth. His mentor had taught him. Sometimes, his old teacher had said, you can feel what the machines cannot measure. The child's name was Minho. Hyun whispered it softly. Because names mattered. Because this was not just a patient. This was Minho, a child with parents who loved him, a child who deserved every chance to live. Tell me everything about him, Hyun said to the parents. Everything that makes him special. And so they did.